Hello, and welcome to, I suppose, a special ad hoc episode of My Dog Will Eat My Face. I usually don't post well, two podcast episodes in 1 week, but this one's a little special. Gather around the family. Maybe light the fire, some candles. Maybe take this in with you as you draw a bath with some salts, Epsom salts, and kind of relax to this very special and intimate My Dog Will Eat My Face. Don't do any of that, of course. Anyway, the reason for me to visit upon you with my angst at such an odd time and I suppose day is because I've actually been suffering from something that's been pretty alarming in the last couple weeks. I did not think much of it until today. My body throughout my entire uh, body, uh, I am experiencing strange bruising in the oddest of places. It's appearing in places where I will not generally have like an impact or injury, and I don't recall any injuries anyway. But I've got a bruise on one of my hands. I've got a bruise on one of my triceps, or like neck. It's not the tricep, it's the skin, but the skin over one of my triceps. I've got a bruise on the inside of my right thigh, of all places. I have scratches on my skin. I even have a scratch across my face coming from the corner of the right side of my mouth that has now been there for over a week. And one, I have no memory of me injuring myself or what the catalyst would be for such injuries. I'm leaving out any mention of injuries I do know the source of, such as playing with my dog. Sometimes we roughhouse and I'll get scratches and he might break the skin and then he says he's sorry and all that's kind of said and done. I'm omitting that from what I'm speaking about tonight because those are obvious, and in fact I did have a bruise on the top of my hand from my little pooch, and it's clearing up, as opposed to the bruises elsewhere in my body, which seem stubborn, will not go away. They are lumped and spreading. Now that all sounds lousy and whatnot, but it gets worse, a lot worse. Because on top of all of that, I've also been coughing up literally pitch black, very viscous I don't know what even to call it. I guess mucus, but it's not mucus. It is pitch black and coming out of my lungs. Now, I've Googled it a few times, which, they say you should definitely do to find a medical diagnosis, is to use Google. And that was sarcasm for anyone who is flipping out right now. But I didn't know, but actually, I did use Google to try to poke around, and I did run it by my nurse, and she ran it by my hospice doctor. Now, they can't do anything. They can't do any tests. They can only provide comfort. If these bruises are not hurting me, and if coughing up black fluid is not causing additional pain and suffering, then they're not going to touch it. They're purely palliative. And the other thing I should add is that there's no taste on a. This is gross. I'm so sorry, my dear listeners. There's no taste to the fluid I get up. If you want to call it fluid, like I said, it is so viscous. It's more like a wad of black material coming up. Pitch black. And that I don't exaggerate. So now you might be wondering, why am I bringing this up now on I suppose, special episode of my podcast? Well, I can answer that easily. The fact of the matter is that I've never had these sorts of events in my life ever before. This is all new territory for me, and it is rapidly declining and causing me to decline by quite a bit. And that's very shocking to me. I've never, in all my time in hospice and all my life of having these ailments and issues with my heart and lungs, I've never had these sorts of uh, symptoms ever before. And when I had to get run by my doctor in hospice, his only answer was, "You just watch it. Don't do anything. Let's just keep watching it." But of course, they can't do anything because they're hospice. They're only going to handle things from a palliative side. Does this hurt you? Because if it hurts you or causes discomfort, physical discomfort, we can help you for that. But we are not in the business of finding out what the heck all this is. So I thought, well, super. And when I was going over it with my nurse, she was going through some notes. I was using some Google searches, which was probably silly, but you would think the hospice nurse would know best. But she was going through her materials, and the results are linked back to something that I have genetically called a protein C deficiency, which causes odd blood clotting in the body and can result into a condition that is something I, for the life of me, cannot pronounce. You'd expect it to be Latin. I want to say it's Latin, but it doesn't seem like it. It just seems obnoxious. I can't. I've tried several times to say it, and I can't. And I'm not going to embarrass myself here to try to say it. But when describing that condition, again, this is going to my hospice nurse's knowledge, I guess, with some combination of my stupid Google searching. Yeah. Uh, and actually narrows it down pretty quickly once you mention there's a protein C deficiency that I was born with. And unfortunately, the prognosis is very grim. It is described as an I can't talk, as an emergency event that needs immediate medical intervention. But if you try to review the medical intervention, all it is trying to treat the discomfort and the, I suppose, superficial components of this reaction that is a result of a severe protein C deficiency in your bloodstream or in your body. And I know I have that. I absolutely know I've got a protein C deficiency. It's genetic. It's not caused by anything I did or didn't do. And it's probably what rotted away the various arteries in my pulmonary area and in my femoral arteries. But now it's starting blood vessels all over to burst and collapse. And furthermore, causing, for some reason, black, viscous, I guess, mucus coming out of my lungs. Sometimes, quite a lot. It comes out in groves. I mean, we're talking, a couple quarters worth. Unfortunately, just before I hopped on this podcast, I coughed up about something about the size of a dime. Pitch black and viscous, will not separate. You can't break it up. It's all together or nothing. And so, folks, This has been a very, very rapid change. And not in a good way. And I am finding it more and more difficult to believe that I will make it beyond these challenges that I face from today and from a few previous days. In other words, I I really don't know when something I say is going to be my last words. So, I give that warning to subscribers. I hate that. I don't want there to be last words, then suddenly I disappear with no closure. I've really got to create that dead hand thing, dead hand solution, so that if I do die, you're notified. But it's it's unfortunate, and I'll be honest. I am obviously put off by it. I'm also exhausted, as you might be able to tell. Losing blood internally is kind of exhausting, apparently. Internal bleeding is not fun. So, that is where I am at today, and I do apologize if this is, unfortunately, the last podcast I ever make. That's not my intention. I'm 80% sure I'll be back, so don't freak out yet. But there's a chance that I won't. And, yeah, that's why I had to make a so called special episode of my podcast to give that rather grim and quite sudden health update. So, I wish I had better news. I think everyone knew something like this was coming. Now, I really don't know if this will just come and go, or if this is the preface to a body shutdown. I have no idea. And again, the doctor's only thought was just watch it, observe it. Now you might be thinking, well, if he's not that alarmed, then it can't be anything too bad. You have to remember, he's a hospice doctor. 100% of his patients die. 100% of them die. And there may truly be maybe some desensitization there for from his point of view. I don't know. Time will only tell as things play out. But I did want to get this particular update out there because my last couple podcasts were kind of off the wall, not topic. Um, and this has all been a very sudden change and a very significant change that is still evolving. It's still getting, I suppose, you can say, worse, quote unquote. It's not getting better. It's going the other way, and it's going so fast. I myself can notice it, but maybe it's no big deal. Maybe in my sleep last night, I accidentally swallowed another inkwell. So embarrassing. I keep doing that. No, but in all seriousness, thank you for listening to this somewhat, I don't want to say whiny, somewhat uh, gloomy special podcast, but my way of thinking was to get this out there as soon as possible in case that it gets worse and I'm either uncommutative. That's happened already before for a short period of times. Or wow, that was odd. My recording system crashed on me right there in the middle of that sentence. I think the maybe the last thing you heard was or, but I can't remember what I was going to say next. Anyway, be that as it may, I just wanted to create this in case it did get worse to where I was on commutative, which has indeed happened. Oh, that's it. Or uh, the worst happens and it's a prelude to a non surviving event. Just so if it gets that bad, you would know at least and have some sort of, I don't know, closure to this long saga. If you listen to this for this long, boy, you're a trooper. I appreciate it. I won't keep you any further. Like I said, this was just meant to be a quote unquote special edition, not long. Hopefully, I'll get more detail as days go by, maybe. But, yeah, we shall see. But thank you very much for listening and being the reliable ear to tune in to my silly personal journal. But hopefully, I hopefully you'll hear from me again at some point here soon. And I really, at this point, don't have a choice except just sort of take it from there. And that's just the way it is.